Hello, my name is Dr. Andy Hardy, and as part of this GeoConvergence workshop, I want to talk to you about geography, but using geography to fight malaria. So, in this crazy year that we've had, we're actually able to relate to diseases like malaria. So, in USA, there was about 10% of people affected by COVID. In Tanzania in 2019, about 15% of people are affected directly by malaria, actually a much more deadly and dangerous disease. So what's our best weapon? Well, we probably know that it's stopping people getting bitten. So sleeping under bed nets, spraying insecticide inside homes. This has been absolutely wonderful at eliminating or nearly eliminating the public enemy number one, our Anopheles gambisensis stricto. But this is a really evolving space. We've got a new enemy, this Anopheles phonesis, and that's what we're going to concentrate on. So what is it like? Well, for laying its eggs and breeding, it likes spring-fed ponds, slow-moving small rivers, disconnected rivers, especially those with vegetation. Well, you know what, guys? This is all physical geography, which is why we can help. So what do? Well, we find them and we kill them. This kind of approach was really successful in World War II and also in Brazil in the 1930s. Now we've got really modern techniques that are able to assist us. So this idea of larval source management. So this is great, but to be successful, we need tools. We need tools from the geoconvergence. So mapping breeding sites, predicting their location. It's got to be precise. It's got to be timely. This is where we come in. So let's dig into our geographical toolbox. We've got geomorphology, and we consider all these different water bodies where mosquitoes do their breeding. And there's some that really jump out in terms of Anopheles phonesis, and they are absolutely driven by physical geography. So groundwater springs, riffle and pool sequences, things like that. So let's just take this simple complex. So we've got the through flow, we get a break in the slope, and what we end up with is a spring line. So just by identifying that spring line in areas could be absolutely critical to identifying where these habitats are. What happens in a karstic environment, in a limestone dominated environment? Well, something slightly different. But we have our dough lines and sinkholes, and they get plugged with fine grained material. Again, they promote the development of perfect mosquito breeding sites. So that's great. We've got a bit of geomorphology theory there. So what other tools do we have? Well, my expertise in satellite Earth observation. So what we've done is using the Google Earth engine, we've been able to apply a very simple spectral and mixing techniques to the Landsat archive, and we're able to give fractional cover of things like vegetation and water. And then we can develop these kind of psychedelic images like this. So not only is this showing you where the water is, it's also showing you where the water is that's got a mix of vegetation, but also how permanent it is. Because actually it's semi-permanent or permanent habitat, they really are the target habitats for something like Anopheles phonesis mosquitoes. So that's all well and done, but as we know in optical satellite Earth observation, we hate cloud, we're hampered by cloud, and here's an example in Guyana. So chop wet tool is useless. But this is where we look to our radar satellite Earth observation instead. We know we get this nice strong signal from water bodies, so we develop this free software to be able to do that. What's more, in this example in Western Zambia, is we're also able to flip that on its head and look for vegetated water bodies as well. And we're able to develop really interesting findings from this, especially the permanence of those water bodies. So that's all well and done, but if we look at these examples in the bottom right, actually some of these breeding sites are really quite small. A hoof print can actually be a critical habitat. So this is where we look to different technology. So we look at this drone imagery here, example in Zanzibar, and we have a habitat that's 15 meters across. Well, this is what it looks like in the radar image. So therefore the radar image in this sense is not going to be very useful, is it? And this is exactly the program that we have in Zanzibar. So taking off-the-shelf affordable drones, putting them in the hands of the local community and local organisations, able to gather that spatial intelligence to be able to identify exactly where those breeding sites are. So what's the plan of attack then? So use the satellites to tell you where the drones go. The drones will give you that precise information that goes onto a smartphone, and then effectively what we can do is we're finding the breeding sites and then we can kill them. So here we are. What we have is we have a disease like malaria. It is inherently spatial, which is why we in the geoconvergence community can really help. So we've got this critical role to play. I'd love to know from the community here is what other tools do we have? Because ultimately it's a combination of technologies, but also this multidisciplinary space is what's really going to make this malaria elimination a reality. Thank you so much for listening.